Welcome back to Callahan's Corner, where you ask the questions, we answer them live right here on Facebook. So, question that was submitted in the Service Autopilot user group today was, how do we go in and set up best practice for, say, a good, better, best scenario? Gentleman had an issue because when he did a good, better, best scenario, it created a subtotal and tax and a total below that. And at the bottom of that, it looked like sticker shock. And I'm going to guess and read between the lines at the bottom of the estimate document, there was also a subtotal that showed up right before the acceptance signature on the View My Proposal in Service Autopilot. So what we wanted to do is go in and kind of demystify the different ways of using Service Autopilot's estimate settings for the grid, where they actually display the service, and how we can customize and manipulate that, and as well, go in and change the estimate total at the bottom. And I'm going to show you some best practice there because in most, I'd say 99% of the cases, when we work with businesses in Service Autopilot as a certified advisor, whether it's on an hourly rate or knee-to-knee or virtually now knee-to-knee with COVID, in our one-day or two-day deep dives, these are things that come up. So once we get the services in, the pricing matrix, the estimate descriptions, all the good stuff we need, how do we go in and set up the estimate so it displays properly? And I mean, we've probably seen, I'd say 8 to maybe 10 different ways that people display these things in their estimates when they come over to Service Autopilot, or if they've been using Service Autopilot for a little time or a long time, they're not too sure how to make this happen. So what I'm going to do is kind of demystify how to show your pricing, the subtotal if you want it, and the bottom total, and how to actually go in and give you some best practice to close more sales this sales season, obviously going into 2021. This is going to be applicable. So what I'm going to do is open it up as we always do and show the screen. If you have any comments or questions regarding pricing, how to display pricing or estimate grids in Service Autopilot, I'm happy to answer those live or in the recorded version here. But I'm going to dive into this here for you real quick. So the first thing I've got on my screen here is I'm going into the gear icon and I'm going into estimate settings. So this is the first place that you would want to go here. So this is going to be the default in Service Autopilot. So after the price is shown at the bottom, there's a subtotal. So once again, the gentleman said it's sticker shock because it took everything from the estimate and subtotaled it out. I highly recommend do not use that unless there's a particular use case scenario that you want that in there. So by default, you're going to see this show subtotal on View My Proposal. So that's the estimate system. So we want to deselect that. And as best practice, if you want electronic signature, you want to allow capture on My View Proposal. So we're going to have that checked. Now, if you're doing installments, we can go in and put in the number of installments by default. And we also probably want to go in where it says default estimate items as 1 unchecked. Right now, by default, when you start Service Autopilot, it's going to be checked. We want to deselect that so the consumer physically has to check on those check boxes to select the services they want. Now, the last thing I would recommend once you're on the screen under Gear Kind Estimate Settings is we've got View My Proposal subtotals turned off. The signature is on. We've got default estimates as 1 unchecked. Set up the number of installments if you ever have dynamic installments on your estimate. And then the last thing is, as you look at it, print package items is going to be empty. You're going to click on this. And what I'm going to recommend is package item total only. That is going to getting away from the additional sticker shock of seeing the whole package. It's going to break it up per visitor per round. So those are the things under the gear icon estimate settings I'd recommend. Now, the next thing is you're going to go into the gear icon. And now we're going to go into where the actual prices are displayed. In the estimate document editor, it's called dynamic content. In this part of the system, it's called estimate grid. Little confusing. So your estimate grid and your dynamic content are identical. And I can show you what that looks like in a little bit here. But main thing is I want to show you how to manipulate these things. So we're going to go in and type in grid. You get estimate grid, not invoice grid, but estimate grid. Now, invoice grids will help you manipulate how your invoices are shown, but this video is going to be answering the question estimate grid. So obviously, I've got a whole bunch of ones here, and I've got some off the marketplace. I've got that MP off them, but what we're going to do is go in and add a grid. I'm going to just go in and default and grab this. So what you got here is this custom grid. So I'm just going to call this our test Facebook grid and name that out. And right now we've got name and service description, quantity, rate, and amount. So first thing is, how do you want it displayed? I'd say about 95% of the ones that we set up, and almost 100% in my company, literally had it set up like this. Now, when you toggle table to paragraph, most people don't realize this, but you can actually have a paragraph version of this as well, and grab this little green icon and pull and lower those. And this is kind of a preview of what it looks like. So sometimes for holiday lights and things, this may be a way you want to show this. But this example, most people are going to use the table. We can do the text if we want. It's a New Times Roman. We can change that. Or we can stick with the default of, say, Arial. Now, you can drag and drop these. So the quantity could be before the rate or the amount. These are drag and drop. So that is, you can manipulate these. Now, you can also go in and highlight this header. So instead of name of description, it could be service, whatever that is. I'm going to type in service instead of name description. So service item. Now, rate and quantity, maybe I don't want those. And I'm assuming in most areas for landscape maintenance or cleaning, you're not going to have these. So what we do is scroll down here and remove the rate and remove the quantity. So now you've got your service item or service quote, and you've got your amount. So you have the two of them there. Once again, that header, you can click in there and change that to sound or say whatever you want. Now, the question that came into Callahan's corner was, well, I've got subtotal, tax, and total here. And what it's going to do is calculate all of the services lined up when they select them. So what we're going to do is recommend is go in and show the grid lines. And then the next thing we're going to do is scroll down and put our grid lines in here. But what I'm going to recommend is where it says show subtotal, I'm going to get rid of that. Now, if we have discounts, we can show that as well. What I'm going to recommend right now is get rid of the tax and the grand total and have it just like this. And the reason being is you're going to have that sticker shock, that confusion. Now, what you're going to do is if you do charge sales tax at the bottom of your estimate document, we'd have a little asterisk saying, hey, this includes, say, New York State sales tax plus whatever you agreed to. But this is going to be the cleanest, nicest way to display your services in Service Autopilot. Now, we can go in and manipulate the colors and the grid lines. So maybe we wanted to make these grid lines red. Not too sure why you would, but maybe you did. So we can go in and customize the view of this whole entire product here. So what's going to happen is this here is your dynamic content. So the estimate grid is a dynamic content. So in the document editor, we pull and drag that in, and that's where your prices are displayed. The estimate settings, the subtotal is on the bottom of View My Proposal, that page where it subtotals everything that's been selected. And that is going to be confusing for the consumer, and it's also going to create sticker shock. So you don't, in my opinion, you do not want to do that. So first thing, if you're setting Service Autopilot up, you want to recreate your process, go to the gear icon, estimate settings, turn this off. Estimate items is one, uncheck that. If you're using packages, packaged item total only. And we would want to go in and hit those areas. Now, if you're in an instance here, and let me pull this up. So I'm going to go to the gear icon, document editor. I'm going to show you just where this piece comes in just so you can see it. So if we go in to add a document and we grab the document type of an estimate, first thing we're going to do is grab the estimate type of the document, and that's going to create some things where we have to connect the system. So you're going to go in and select the estimate document is going to be tied into an estimate email, an estimate acceptance email. And those are going to be the two main parts that you need. So once you go in here, we're going to select that document type of an estimate, and we would name it. Estimate email would go in and connect it to the estimate email in the system. So this estimate email would be the email that goes out to says, hey, thanks for requesting estimate. Click here to you see your pricing. So let me see what we've got in here. So here's a test email, and then estimate confirmation email is the email once they accept the estimate that automatically triggers. It's like, hey, Mrs. Smith, we've acknowledged you've won this estimate or accepted it, will be out. So once you've got this here, you've got it. A lot of people also ask in Service Autopilot ecosystem, how do I include a PDF or not include a PDF of the estimate in the email? So this is it right here. We toggle that on and off. So if you want an attachment in the estimate email of the estimate, that's how you do it. If you don't, you toggle it off, and we'd hit save. So what's going to come up here is a estimate document canvas. Now, we've got a lot of videos around the document editor, but the one thing I do want to hit on here is I'm going to use the blank template. But what I'm going to do is go in and drag this drag and drop builder in here, and we can grab some structure. So up here, we would have some text where we have their name, their address, estimate number, how long it's available. But the main thing is under content. When we go into the middle of the document here, this dynamic content, when we click on this, this is the place where the price is displayed. And if we scroll down, our Facebook estimate is in here, and we plug that in. The main thing is when you're done editing this, anytime you go into it, we need to go in and delete this, drag the content back in, and hit save, and that will save the document. So comments or questions, drop below. Callahan's Corner. You ask the questions, we answer them live right here on Facebook. Everything today around estimate settings and estimate price displaying and how to customize it to the way you want to show your documents and pricing in your Service Autopilot account. We'll see you again tomorrow on Callahan's Corner.